Hello, and a very warm welcome to This Woman's Work, a space where you can hear and read about some amazing women, the fantastic jobs they do, and the paths that have led them to where they are today. I am here today with Henna. Hi, Henna.
Hi, Michelle.
Could you tell the listener what it is you do for a living?
So I'm a dentist, and Michelle kindly invited me to today's podcast after seeing me once, Michelle.
Well, we've literally just said this off mic. And I don't know when I met you if I'd even come up with the idea for this podcast. So literally, you've been on my hit list.
Which is great, and I'm here today, so I'm very appreciative. Thank you for inviting me.
Right, lots to get into. But before we do, we always track all the way back and we talk about little Henna.
Okay.
What were you like? What were you into?
So I think I was a little diva, as my daughter is today.
We were just having this chat.
We were just having that conversation. I think I was always a very confident child growing up, but then having been moved to a different school, because I think I was quite mischievous at one of the schools, and then mum moved me into a different school. Then all of a sudden, all the rain was reined in, and I thought, oh my goodness, I need to focus my energy more on studying now and focusing it in a different way. So I moved from a very young age. I think I was 4 or 5 years old. I was always very outgoing and continued to be throughout life. But having been moved school, we went to a much stricter school then. And then I think it just started, kind of developing your personality in a different way. But I really enjoyed it. I think till date, I thank the school that I went to from the age of 5 all the way up to sixth form. At the same school, I just went to the junior school and then to the senior. And I wouldn't be who I am without that school today and the support that school's given me. So I know a lot of children don't enjoy school. But I think when you're older, you'll look back and appreciate what they've done for you, and what you've become today is probably thanks to your teachers and the staff and the support. And I definitely look back, I still say to my A-level teachers till date, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for you guys. So I am really appreciative.
And what A-levels did you do then? So obviously academic. Did you know what you wanted to do, or?
So I didn't, Michelle, to be honest with you. At GCSE level, I literally had no clue. You just did your 10 subjects. I think we had to do 5 of them were set, 5 of them you get to pick. I remember picking completely randomly and picking all the sciences, thinking, oh dear God, I can't do physics to save my life, but I better do it in case I need it at some point in life. So at GCSEs, I literally had no idea. We had this test, I remember, in GCSE, which was supposed to help you decide what career. I don't know if the kids still do that these days.
I don't think they do.
Oh, it was so random. And I remember looking at the test results, and all my bars were equal. So it showed that either I was rubbish at everything or I was good at everything. I can't remember which one it was now, but basically it showed that I wasn't particularly amazing at anything. So that result was no help to me. And I remember being 16 and thinking, oh, I could be a barrister. I'm really chatty and I could have a really good argument with somebody in court and I could put a wig on. And I really wanted to be a barrister. I remember being younger thinking, oh, right, I'll definitely go down this pathway. And then started looking into it and realised that it involved a lot of reading. You had to be quite good at the humanities. And then I thought to myself, okay, I hate reading. I just about read Kill a Mockingbird for English. I was more of a methodical kind of person. I enjoyed maths and science, where it's a black and white answer. You either know how to do your equation or you don't. Whereas English, history, it was all, there was a lot more flexibility as to, it is theory. And I think there was a lot up to interpretation as to how you gain the results and the results for an exam through an essay, which I found quite difficult because I was like, what are they looking for? Whereas maths and science kind of subjects are just one word. You get the answer right or you get it wrong. And so then I realised I was more methodical, and that's how I picked my A-levels and ended up doing maths, chemistry and biology. And I obviously thinking, okay, what do I do? What am I going to go into? And actually the natural train of thought was to do medicine, because that was the more popular career pathway. It wasn't, I'm talking about 2010. I mean, dentistry wasn't that popular at the time. It was, don't get me wrong, when you start applying, it was very competitive. But the school that we went to, the more we'd heard about was veterinary and medicine. And these were the kind of bigger, a bigger university that everybody would apply to. So then I looked into it. I started arranging work experience, which was a lot easier when we were younger. I know the children these days have to jump through so many hoops to get work experience, which is, it actually makes it really hard for them to decide. But back in our days, you could just turn up to your GP practice and be like, can I sit with you for the day? So it was a lot easier. I remember going to my GP practice and thinking, okay, let's see what a life of a doctor's like. I was bored out of my brains within the first half an hour. I just felt the doctor was very disengaged with his patients. It was kind of like sitting on his computer. Okay, what's wrong with you? Here's your prescription. Bye-bye. Yeah. And I didn't really like that patient-doctor interaction. I just thought, I was like, this feels really disconnected, and I'm a very personal kind of person. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, this is not for me. Even as an 18-year-old, I knew that wasn't for me. Yeah. So then I started exploring other options, and it was actually my brother who then said, why don't you become a dentist? And I was like, what? I am not looking down people's mouths for the rest of my life.
And what was he doing at this point then?
So he was studying pharmacy. So he's become a pharmacist, and it was actually his friend's mum who was a dentist, and he was like, why don't you consider that? But then he actually arranged the work experience for me. He forced me to go. I was fully in refusal. I was like, I am not going. I was like, that's so weird. I do not want people's saliva all over me. I went to the work experience and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I was like, it's like doing constant operations. And if I did do medicine, what I realized is that I'd want to become a surgeon because I want to actually operate. That's what I find interesting. But the pathway to become a surgeon is ridiculous.
Crazy.
The postgraduate examinations you have to do, and the pathway up to becoming a consultant is very, very demanding and difficult.
It's like 15 years, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, you're spot on.
I've podded. A friend of mine's a surgeon in Peterborough. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think she was a consultant until she was in her early to mid 30s.
There you go. Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's crazy.
It is, and it's really, really, and the hours, the demanding hours in the hospital, it's really, really difficult. Although I did find medicine, there's something about medicine and the human body is very, very interesting to me. I used to love biology at school. But again, I was like, I'm not doing that. It will take me forever to become surgeon level. Then I actually went to the work experience and as a dentist, and I was like, this is cool. You get to operate on a tooth every single day. Like, that is your main job. Yeah. So that's how I actually became really interested in it and started arranging more and more work experiences with other different dentists, and then thought, right, and then I think the summer came and you have to apply for your UCAS quite early for medicine and dentistry. So when we went back to school in September, you had to apply for UCAS, and I thought, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to apply for dentistry. I luckily got in. I actually got 3 rejections, so it's very competitive to get in. Wow. And I only got into one university, which was Manchester, where I graduated from. But
it was to go though.
It was so cool. We had so much fun. We did a lot of partying, a little bit of studying. No, we studied hard, but we also had a lot of fun. It was a good city, and the north is fun. Everybody's super friendly. So we had a really good time. But at the time, it was risky. I mean, I was getting rejection after rejection. I remember being that student, sitting crying in my room thinking, great, I didn't get in again. And it was really frustrating because I was predicted to get really good grades, but I still was not getting into university. It's such a competitive process.
And you've done the work experience.
I'd done the work experience, and it's literally, I couldn't have done it any more. I mean, the only thing...
what do you think that is then? It's not just... They can literally just pick the creeps. Some can just pick the absolute people that are predicted, the AAA stars.
They can. I mean, to be honest with you, Michelle, I was predicted 2 A stars and an A, which is exactly what I did get in the end. So it wasn't that. I think it's just the competitive nature. And I feel like a lot of the students, I see patients till date who, don't get into medicine. And I tell them, and I'm like, don't be disheartened. And, everybody's top A students, because it's just the sheer competitiveness of the course. Every single person who applies is top A students. They've done this and they've done that. And, everybody's done the extracurricular. Someone's gone on DFE. We're all the same. And I think, unfortunately, when it comes to it, it is just, luck of the draw on the day. They put 2 applications together and they think, right, we'll take that one. They do. They really do. And we've seen it at university stage, because they tell us how people, they sometimes put our applications in a pile, and pile A will get an interview, pile B goes in the bin. It's really, really hard. It's a really harsh system, but it is just what it is. And I just, whoever's listening to this podcast, if, it is young A-level students, all I can say is don't be disheartened, because
and
it's nothing.
Don't take it too personally.
Definitely.
Okay, so left uni, and what was the plan?
So I left uni, and then we have to do a mandatory training year after university. We do get paid for it, but you have to do this year, otherwise you don't get an NHS number. It's called a performer number in England. And basically, if you don't do that training year, then your only option is to do private dentistry, which as a young dentist back then, it was quite a risky thing to do because most of the jobs are the NHS jobs. So then I did my training post, and actually, you'll be shocked to hear, absolutely hated it.
Wow. But also, was it competitive to get into that?
It was
training?
Really competitive, Michelle, because
I've heard this.
everybody applies to like a region. I just wanted to come back home at this stage after being in Manchester for such a long time. I thought I'll go back home, spend time with family again. It's really competitive to get in. So I came back to the Midlands. Midlands isn't as competitive, but your bigger cities, Manchester, London kind of areas are really hard. And then you have to go to an interview process to get into your training post. Then you get your training position. And the reason I didn't enjoy it, because I think it was just such a shock from university. We went from seeing 1 or 2 patients a day to now seeing 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big jump, and a filling that used to take me 1 hour, I was expected to do in 30 minutes. And I was a bit like, what? Like I can't just miraculously, and they expect you to speed up. And
so you were almost at this point thinking, what have I done?
I literally thought to myself, Michelle, that I've done 5 years and I've picked the wrong career, because I used to cry every lunchtime in the car going, this is horrible. And it was just because of the demand and how quick they wanted you to do things. And I felt like I wasn't geared up to do it. So at this stage, I started thinking to myself, okay, I've done 5 years of this career. I can't give it up now. So I need to focus, rather than just getting down in the dumps about it and just thinking about the negative. I need to focus on what do I enjoy about this job. And then I looked back as to when I was 18 that I actually find medicine interesting. So I applied for hospital jobs after that training year in NHS dentistry, because it's a very well known pathway for dentists. You can either go into practice after that training year, which I'd say the majority of people do, or you can go down hospital training pathway, which then leads you on to becoming a specialist if you wanted to do that. Nice. So then I got myself a job at Liverpool Dental Hospital as the senior house officer there.
Oh my God.
So I was very lucky to obtain that, because it's really hard to get the dental hospital jobs, because again, you have to go through an interview process.
And they're really sought after.
They are very sought after.
Because there's not many of them.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And there's not many dental hospitals. So, it's obviously just the dental schools across the country. And there's only normally a couple of jobs per university. So I managed to secure that position, and then started loving life again, because I was back in the... So went up to Liverpool. I remember coming.
Again, another great city though.
It was, lots of fun again. Back up north, I got myself a flat. I had the job there for the year and made really good friends. I was back in a hospital environment, was loving life, learning off your seniors who were, it was all very consultant led. So everybody's, that's the creme de la creme of dentistry. Basically, you're not going to get better than the consultant care. So started learning a lot. At this stage, I'm 24, 25-ish now. And then you used to look after the final year students. So they used to come up to you because you were the SHO, which just stands for Senior House Officer. And basically, you're like their senior. So you used to go look over them and help them do their bits and bobs, which I found so fun. And again, I was like, right, I haven't picked the wrong job. I just didn't enjoy NHS dentistry, and I didn't enjoy that year. So absolutely loved my year, finished my year in Liverpool, learnt a lot of things that you wouldn't learn, I would say, in practice, just because you're back in the hospital and you're getting trained from consultants. They give you hints and tips, because all of the more difficult patients come to hospital. And after Liverpool, I got myself a job as, it's just called Senior House Officer again. So I was an SHO at Nottingham, Queen's Medical Centre. So I worked in the oral and maxillofacial department there. And day one, when you turn up to that job, they go, right, you're not a dentist. Take that out of your brain. You are a junior doctor and you will behave as a junior doctor and you will get the training you need to be one. And it was amazing. I was in my element. I mean, I was the tooth fairy in the hospital.
You were combining, like you say.
Yes.
That interest from when you were younger.
Definitely. And then at this stage, then I'd come back to the Midlands again. I got myself a job. That department was amazing. The support I got, I think they saw that I took an active interest in medicine. We would get handed over a bleep, for A&E. When that bleep went off, I used to go running, like, oh my God, what's happened? I'm here, tell me what to do. And I absolutely loved it, the amount of stuff we learned. I mean, it is still very relevant to dentistry because it opens your eyes to things that you don't see in just practice. So I saw cancer being operated on in the mouth. You see cysts and you see difficult teeth. So, for example, where you come to see me, Michelle, a lot of people will be like, oh, Henna will take the tooth out. And it's because I've worked in hospital and you get all the more difficult extractions, etc. I mean, I'm not claiming to be a maxillofacial surgeon at all, but it's just, we were given better training, I would say, of postgraduate. And a lot of people look at you, especially some male patients, be like, oh, slim looking dentist, young, she can't take my tooth out. But it's not strength, it's technique.
Yeah.
And but no, it is helpful. And I do think, dexterity obviously is a big, it's a big part of dentistry.
Of course.
I'm not, I have to say, it just depends on the person. I don't think it's to do with male, female, but I'm just saying that old persona of only males can be dentists. I mean, that's out the window. Females make very good dentists, and as you pointed out, Michelle, our dexterity is very good.
Do you know what the split is now at uni? Do you know what? Is it 50-50?
Yeah, if not in some universities, you'll find there's a lot more girls than boys.
Yeah.
Because it's just become very popular, and I think the lifestyle of a dentist, the work-life balance is lovely as well. Like I know that I can do a full day worth of work and then go home at 5, 6, whatever I want my shift to be, and go home and go to my children and go to my family. Whereas, medicine, it is a little bit more challenging and you don't have that flexibility. Whereas, I had my daughter, all my patients were like, oh my God, Henna, please come back from maternity leave. Michelle, I went back when she was just 4 months and all I did was 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. and I went home and I kept my book going for 4 hours so that my patients didn't have to wait to see me.
Wow.
Because, you can have that flexibility and it's great. And now I start at 10 because I've got to do school run and I've got to sort out my little one, then I've got to get to Stanford. So, you really can work in accordance to what fits you best.
Yeah.
When I didn't have children, I used to do 8:30 till 5:30 because I want to miss the traffic.
Yeah,
so, you really can decide what you want to do and work with your nurse. We, because I start a bit later, we have a shorter lunch and my nurse is happy to do that. So the flexibility in the job is incredible.
Oh, wow, how interesting.
So it is really, really nice. And I think the main thing about dentistry, going back to my work experience as a child in the GP practice, is I've got a connection with most of my patients. Don't get me wrong, not everybody who walks through the door has been seeing me for a long time, but I would say 80% of my book have been seeing me since I started at my position. And they come in and, if they're tooth hurting, that's probably the last thing they tell me. The first thing they tell me, be like, oh, Henna, have you been on holiday? Oh, I bought a new car and how's the kids? And that's our immediate conversation. Then they go, oh yeah, and Henna, I broke my tooth. I think it's a very rewarding career, but you do have to have the patience and you do have to take the time. And that's why I like private dentistry, because I can do that. I pick how long I need with that patient because I know my patient. It's not reception telling me you've got 15 minutes to do this. So I think that's the difference. And now, coming out of the hospital, and I came back to doing general dentistry because I didn't want to carry on down that hospital pathway. It was that career decision at that stage. Do I carry on specialising?
Yeah.
That at this stage I had young children. I was like, I like my children more than studying again. So I made that choice to come back into dentistry, and I picked private dentistry, and I honestly can say I love going into work. It doesn't feel like a day of work to me.
Wow.
Me and my nurse have the nicest day, even if things, obviously not every day is easy. Sometimes you can get more complex patients in or complex treatment doesn't go to plan. Of course, these things happen, but it's just about how you handle it and making sure that the patient understands what's going on. And you'll never go too far wrong that way. It really makes your day go nicely.
And do you think, I guess, what do you think makes someone choose? I mean, obviously you've described very eloquently what's made you choose private versus NHS. Can you do both?
Yes, of course you can.
You can do both.
That's how I started off, because you can't. I think when you're young, you can't expect to just fall into a private position, because you do need the experience to do it. So initially I started off doing mixed, and then it was my manager at somewhere where I used to work in Leicester, who was very kind and saw that I was very good with the few private patients I used to see, then started being like, right, Henna, you can start seeing some more now, and we'll cut down your NHS list. And from that, it was actually that manager that referred me to a practice in Kipworth and said, here's a fully private position.
Right.
Then I got a position in Stamford, and now actually we own our own dental practice in Solihull, myself, my partner and our friend.
I mean, one of my questions is always what's next, but you're kind of in your what's next then, aren't you, insofar as, I mean, what is that like then, running a practice?
It's a whole different world. Yes. I think that was definitely our what's next, just because my husband is a dentist too. So we thought, where do we go from here? I mean, it's lovely. My day when I go to Stamford, it's great because in the nicest way, I don't own Bupa. I just turn up, I go to my room, I have my nurse, and we just get on with whatever we need to do in the surgery. So you can completely focus on the dentistry and just the work that needs to be done on the day. On the flip side, being in Solihull, it's a complete different world because you're the boss. There's a lot of administrative things that you don't realise. There's a lot of compliance. When things break, the nurses look at you going, fix it. Whereas in Bupa, obviously, we just go to our management. So it is a whole different world. But it is really enjoyable. We have a very supportive manager who actually used to be she actually used to be a dental nurse in Solihull, and then she got promoted to being manager when we took over. So she's great.
She knows, you've got someone.
She knows, she's been there a very long time. I think she's worked there for 25 years. So she's very experienced. She's great as our manager. She's very supportive towards us. The team's very supportive. So we really enjoy it. But every day's a learning curve because it's the first time we've owned a dental practice. But it's nice. It's nice because you get to do everything how you want it, which is really nice. Whereas obviously when you work for somebody, you have to work by that practice's rules. Even just something little. I mean, Stanford's great. They give us everything that we need to work with. But I have worked in different practices where they go, actually, you can't order that material because we use this. So can you just use this instead? So, there's always slight restrictions for working for somebody, and a material is just one small example. Whereas being the owner is great. I want something in, I want a new scanner, I can go buy it because it's my dental practice. So it's great, and we're just trying to, build it, use all our different skill sets. We've got a number of dentists that work there, so everyone does their, what they're good at and stick to that. You can focus on that. It's really, really nice, and it's a lovely area, so we are enjoying it.
I know you have a little life in you yet. I know you have a lot of strength left. I know you have a little life in you yet. I know.
Right, I've got to ask obligatory questions, which I've been asked to ask about like the whole cosmetic, because obviously we're in the era of just, everyone going to Turkey, aren't they, to get their teeth done. I mean, what's your view on that? Because does it happen as much as we all think it happens now? Because, of course, when I was, because I'm old, but when I was young, it just wasn't even a thing. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, I mean, what proportion of your patients is it cosmetic? How much of it is need to do, or?
You know what it is, Michelle? As I've said in the pod today, that look, I'm only 32 and I get it, this Instagram era, social media, but my honest opinion is that it's been taken too far. I think that a lot of patients come to see me being like, oh, can I have composite bonding and can I have veneers? And don't get me wrong, there's some patients that is the right thing to do for them. But the percentage of patients, I would say that that's the right thing, is probably less than one. The amount of patients I turn away, not as in they don't come back to me, because they do, but I say it's a black and white no from me. I'm not doing it because everybody's...
They've got perfectly good teeth.
They've got perfectly good teeth, Michelle, and that's what it is. And I think the younger generation come in... it's not actually just the younger generation, it's everybody. You see these perfect teeth on Instagram and all these beautiful pictures, but what people don't realise is that picture's been taken in the moment, possibly been edited, and nobody tells you about the upkeep of these things. So, I mean, composite bonding, for an example, is, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, it can reshape your teeth, it can give you that kind of perfect smile. Does everybody need it? No. Would I have it done to my own teeth? No way. I didn't like the shape of one of my teeth. 2 years back, I got braces put on. I just straightened my teeth, I whitened them, and most patients would say, Henna, your teeth are really nice. And I just laugh. I'm like,
teeth.
Thank you. But all I've done is straighten them and whiten them, which I think is sensible. You're not damaging the teeth. You know, you've put them in the position you want them to be. And teeth whitening from the dentist is a very safe and effective procedure. So most patients, if you say to them, go away, whiten your teeth, then come back, and then if you really want it, I'll rediscuss composite bonding with you. 99.9% of those patients will come back and go, okay, Henna, you're right, I'm happy.
But is it also the speed of it? Because obviously, like you say, the brace and the whitening, that could be a year,
Of course, it is.
Versus what, like...
Instant,
an hour job kind of thing.
I completely understand where you're saying, Michelle.
And that's the world we're living in now,
it is.
Isn't it? It's the quick
people
fix
want
mentality.
instant results.
Yeah.
But I think it's educating the patients to understand the maintenance that comes with it. So composite bonding, for example, is basically white filling material stuck onto your teeth, which could chip. It can stain. It's more prone to staining than your natural enamel is. And, you might need repeated appointments at the dentist to come and get it polished, etc. Whereas your natural enamel just doesn't need that. So it's educating the patient. And most patients, when you tell them the upkeep it's required, or, how many times you have to come in for polishing sessions, they won't have it done. Because there's nothing
It's not just
better.
that initial cost.
Definitely not.
It's the cost over the next, 5
yes.
years kind of thing.
And for some people, Michelle, it's not, yes, affordability is important, but even the patients who can afford it, it's the effort of the upkeep. Do you want to wake up every morning thinking, oh God, I hope this doesn't chip, or because it is just a filling stuck onto your tooth.
Yeah.
Veneers is a whole different ball game.
Oh my gosh, don't, because I've seen all that stuff.
Oh.
There are people getting really lovely, healthy teeth.
Yeah, drilled down.
And they can't, I don't know, do they think they're going to grow back? I don't understand what people think with that.
And again, Michelle, I mean, you've just said it there. And the thing is, yes, the veneer looks perfect when it's stuck on, but what happens if it falls off one day when you're sitting in a restaurant beside your friend or your partner and you've got a little stump underneath? I mean, there is such things as minimally prepared veneers, so you can just very lightly prep the surface and stick veneers on. That is much better. But again, everything comes with an upkeep. And it's making that right and ethical decision for the patient rather than just selling something and, shoving it down somebody's throat that you need this doing and you need that doing. I would say I'm a very conservative dentist. Yes, I mean, I want my teeth to look nice as well, but why don't you just try something simple as whitening? Because that's your natural teeth. You can whiten them. You can do it, as and when at home, as per your, the instructions of your dentist. And it's a safe thing to do. And you're not having to worry that there's something glued onto your teeth that might fall off. Don't get me wrong, everybody wants nice teeth, but I'm saying that there's more sensible ways of achieving it. Yes, you're 100% right. The ways I'm saying with having braces or Invisalign is a longer process, but what I try to educate my patients about is it's a more sustainable way. If you've got straight teeth, they're easier to clean. You don't have to worry that this artificially stuck on filling is going to fall off. You can whiten them.
Or that the actual veneer is going to fall off.
Exactly. So it's the maintenance, it's the long-term achievement that you're going to get. Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I had my braces, it was torture. For those 12, 14 months I had it on, I thought to myself, I can't wait to take it off. Invisalign is a much more comfortable way to get your teeth straightened. The only reason I didn't have Invisalign is you have to wear the aligners, and at the time I was breastfeeding my baby and I was hungry, so I would have kept on pulling them out. So I decided to go down the traditional brace route, And actually everybody mocks traditional braces, but I just had the ceramic ones, so they're white rather than the traditional train track looking ones. And from a distance, I mean, we had a family Christmas photo shoot. Nobody could tell I'm wearing a brace from a distance. So, you've always got options. And I think it's exploring those options with your dentist before jumping into all of these cosmetic. And the thing is, I feel like a lot of dentists push it and make you feel like you need this. You don't need anything. I mean, you need a filling if you have a hole in your tooth. You do not need composite bonding. You do not need veneers. That's something that you want, but you must explore the more conservative and probably better longevity options before jumping into these things, because once upon a time, these things didn't exist. The thing is that you're damaging your teeth in ways that it doesn't need to. I mean, composite bonding is conservative, but don't get me wrong, it doesn't just miraculously stick onto your tooth. Obviously, there's some preparation from our end that is still required for that to be done. And as I said, don't get me wrong, Michelle, I have done composite bonding, but for the right patients. I had a young patient who was naturally missing her second teeth from the middle, which is your laterals. So she, as part of her brace treatment, they've closed all the gaps, and now her canine is next to her very front teeth. So the canine is very pointy, and she doesn't like the look of it. And of course she won't, because it's quite far forward in her mouth. We did composite bonding for her and turned it into more of the blocky shape that your second tooth normally is. And her smile looked so much better.
I do wonder, maybe in, like you say, 30 years' time, how all that generation that had that done, particularly those, like you said, the filing veneers, what's it going to do to their teeth, or what? I don't know. If we feel like we're going to have some wave of dentist problems, because they might have no money at that. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
So if they've not got any money to keep that up,
to keep it going. And the thing is, Michelle, is that again, we're at this stage where composite bonding, for example, has been trendy for a very long time now. And you see some patients at the latter end where it's starting to fail now, because it's only so long it will last. Some people have had it done 8, 9, 10, years ago, and they come back. And, from a dentist perspective, even when you're taking the composite off, it's really hard to stop and go, okay, that's the natural tooth now, because obviously we've matched it up to your teeth. Nothing is easily, you can't wave a magic wand and it suddenly comes off. I mean, I've had to do a lady's, because she's got no choice, she's had it done years ago. And taking it off was the hardest job, really, not to drill her natural, not to drill her natural tooth, because, it is such a good match. And you think, okay, right, I've got to keep checking with my light now to make sure that, I'm not drilling her natural tooth. So, nothing comes without slight detriment. You're part of dentistry is that, you are preparing or drilling the tooth in some way. So the best way to maintain your teeth is ideally not to have them touched. That's why we say come to the dentist often, so you don't need to have things done, and we can preserve them.
God, isn't it funny though, if you actually think about it though, which obviously you did because you do it for a career, actually what you do is way riskier than a surgeon, because teeth don't grow back. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, at least with some body part, the human body will repair itself. Or, I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, you won't grow a new lung or something like that.
Of course.
But things will heal, and whereas what you're doing is absolutely finite, isn't it?
It's irreversible.
Yeah.
That's why
responsibility. I've never thought about that before. That's a lot of responsibility.
It really is, and that's why dentistry's changed over the years. So we were very well known back in the day for being a drill and fill kind of specialty, but it's different now. When you come to the dentist, all they harp on about is don't have too much sugar, use your floss, use your interdental brushes. It's all the conservative advice that we try to give now, because we have evolved over the years, and we've realised that it's actually maintenance and conservation which is key, because once that filling's gone in, don't get me wrong, yes, we can fill your tooth, but we try to explain to our younger patients, especially children, but the problem is once you've got that filling, it's there for life. Always have the mindset that you want to be conservative about your teeth. Don't be on the mindset, oh, I can eat and drink whatever I want because the dentist will fill it. Because as I've said in the pod today, is what we do in dentistry is irreversible. Yes, we're there to help you, but you don't want to get to that stage. So look after your teeth. It is very simple, brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes, and ideally supplementing that with using interdental brushes. They are the best thing on this earth.
So those little teeny ones, aren't they?
They are. They look like
those.
little bottle brushes. And the thing is there's so many connections, you know. Your mouth is so close to your sinuses, to your throat. There's so many times I've had to refer patients to ENT, that's ears, nose and throat specialty, to get things investigated, because, you know, everything is so close knit. I think people forget your mouth is part of your entire body. It's not just some separate part. People think, oh, dentist doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because it's such an important part that you're using every single day.
And it's not, it doesn't grow back.
Definitely.
It's like, it's so bizarre, isn't it? It's like with the fact that I don't think we've tweaked that as a species.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's fine. Once you've got your adult teeth, that is it.
That is it. And that's what we tell children. You're not getting another set of teeth. And I know these days technology has advanced, implants are great, but don't get me wrong, this is coming from a dentist. I'd still rather have my own tooth over an implant, because the proprioception, so basically the sensation that you're getting from eating, you're getting from your natural teeth and the ligaments around your tooth. An implant is still, it looks great, don't get me wrong, but you don't get that sensation when you're eating. You don't get that feedback to your brain. It's, you know, everyone thinks that everything is replaceable. I mean, yes, it is to an extent, but nothing beats what your body's naturally made, which is your own teeth.
I know.
So look after them.
I'm going to ask, sorry, I've got another question now, and I need to let you go. And it might be a bit of a nod, but I think it's quite a topical question. Are you noticing I'm guessing the question is about vaping and the vaping generation, because to me, that feels like, and obviously we all know smoking has an effect on the teeth.
Yes.
Even though I always feel like it's been really downplayed, it's just makes your teeth go yellow. So I'm sure it's a lot worse than that.
It is.
But obviously vaping is just, they're inhaling chemicals, aren't they, all the time? 100%. And it's such a young person thing. I mean, are you seeing anything with teeth?
I mean, to be honest with you, Michelle, when patients come in and say they've stopped smoking, I'm like, that's great. But then when they next tell me they're vaping, my reaction isn't, I'm very honest with my patients. I say, look, the clinical evidence as to how safe vaping is inconclusive at this stage. They haven't shown links to oral cancer or what the risk is. But, you know, there's still something in the vape. No, exactly. You know, there are clinical studies that are ongoing as we speak around vaping, and they will get published. But the advice that we're told to give our patients is that it is inconclusive and the safety of vaping is not confirmed.
No, but also the kids are doing it, aren't they? They're doing that, not smoking.
Which is...
So I bet it'll be in maybe 5 years' time. I'm wondering what that will do to...
Definitely. That risk is very, very well known. They don't know the percentage yet as in comparison to smoking. But, you know, vaping is still going to increase your risk of getting oral cancer. And I think oral cancer is something that's not very... You hear about a lot of the other cancers, but you don't hear about oral cancer as much. It's probably one of the most debilitating out of all of them, to be completely honest with you, because I've seen patients have surgery, have their entire tongue removed, they can't speak.
Oh, gosh.
Sometimes if you've got cancer around the tongue, they then have to take a graft, which is a piece of your arm or your leg, and then pop it into your mouth. So the rest of your life, you're shaving your tongue because, you know, your tongue is now your leg or your arm.
Oh my gosh.
So, exactly. So when you know these things, I think it's not very well... you know, it's not very well advertised. All cancers are bad, don't get me wrong. You wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but the debilitation from oral cancer is awful, and the rehabilitation from it, you may never be able to speak again, and your life expectancy, regardless of surgery, is still going to be reduced. So it's just having that awareness. Quality of life. Oh yes. And the operation is major. I've stood beside the consultants and watched them operate. It is insane. You're talking 16, 17 hours of surgery for your big cancers. It's scary stuff. Why would you put yourself at risk of that just because vaping's the trending thing to do?
Right, I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to ask you my 3 final questions. First question is, What advice would you give your younger self? Could be any version of Henna. It could be that Henna getting changed school. It could be any advice you think you could have done with.
I think if I spoke to my younger self, and this is also saying this to anybody listening to this pod, is when you're younger and you're in the moment and you're applying for your career pathway, whatever that may be, dentistry, medicine, something completely unrelated, law, whatever you've decided to do at university, in the moment you feel like it's the end of the world if you're not going to get in. All I can say is now, being 32 years old and looking back in life and seeing friends who do different career pathways, completely different from me, it is not end of the road. It is never end of the road. If you do not get into what your chosen pathway is, there are a million different doors that would be open for you, and you just need to explore them. But you can always get to where you need to get to. You just got to stay positive, and I think believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then no one else will believe in you.
Yeah. Well, you may have answered my third question, but I'll ask my second. So the second question is, what advice do you think your older self would give you now? So 65-year-old Henna.
Yes.
What advice do you think she would give you now?
That's a really interesting one. Can I answer that when I'm 65?
Revisited.
That's it. I don't know. Maybe that everything isn't a race. I was always again, I'm probably speaking to my younger self, but even till date, you feel like, this needs to be done in this time frame. And even having children, I was like, I need to have my children, and then I need to have a second one. And I think I'm just a very timeline kind of person. But, it's not a race against time. These days, the 50 is the new 40, 40 is the new 30.
Yeah.
And you've just, you have got time on your hands. So enjoy it.
Okay, so my final question, which you may have just answered in the previous one, is just some life advice, just to throw out there to anyone, anywhere. Is there a mantra that you live by? Or, as I always say, if Henna had a T-shirt, what would it say?
I think this is going to sound really cheesy, but being positive, I think today speaks for itself. Michelle, you saw me once and you invited me for a podcast.
Yeah.
I just feel like, look, everybody has bad days, but when you step outside, just put a smile on your face, be positive, because your energy is everything. Obviously, of course, not everybody's going to like you, but you put a smile on your face, you will find so many more people are attracted to you and want to speak to you and want to hear what you have to say and value what you have to say, because you're that positive, happy person, and someone might be having the worst day in their life and you've just probably put a smile on their face by just being happy yourself.
Yeah.
And I think being a dentist, you see so many patients, with so many different problems, but I always tell myself, and I always have, is that somebody's always got a bigger, better problem than you. So, just being appreciative and being happy for what you've got, whatever that may be. Because it's the smallest things that give you the happiness. Money comes and goes, nice fancy things come and go, but your inner happiness, positivity, no one can take that away from you. So just carry that around with you and you will do well in life, and believe in yourself, because as long as you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much, Henna.
Thank you for inviting me. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but we could talk forever, couldn't we, Michelle?
If you would like to hear more about this chat, see some pics and read about how to get started in this industry and or this role, then please go to our website www.thiswomanswork.org. The link is on this podcast page and across our socials. Sincere thanks.